Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to be doing a little bit of planting. I've got 3 varieties of shrubs with pink interests that I think are gorgeous. I'm excited to get them in the ground, but also we have Pedro and his crew here. They are prepping the area around the pond to put in the flagstone walkways and the flagstone patio. So if we take a look here, they've already kind of mapped out sort of the area where it's going to be so they can start digging it out. So it starts here at the driveway. It's going to curve around the bottom of this berm. And we're going to kind of cut into this berm and possibly do a little retaining wall right here. And then it's going to come up. There'll be a couple of stairs leading down to this patio area right here. And the flagstones will come all the way over the front of these blocks. So you won't see these blocks anymore. And then the walkway will take off and go this way right there. Sorry if it's really loud. I'm trying to stay out of their way. But you guys, we do have cameras up. We're going to try to capture as much of this process as we can. So while they're working on that, let's go plant. I wanted to stop here in the shade of our mulberry tree. This is such a really pretty area. I love how this whole flower bed looks right now. And I know we just showed this to you in kind of an update tour, but oh my goodness, the color is just so fun. But these are the shrubs we're working with today. So this one right here, I have a lot of experience with. This is the Proudberry Coralberry. So right now, like, it doesn't have a tremendous amount of interest on it, except for I love the color of the leaves. They're kind of that sagey blue-green. They're so pretty, and they're a little bit on the smaller side. So they've got, they don't create like a really heavy weight in a flower bed. They're kind of more of an accent shrub. And then they come out with these big panicles of, you can kind of see some of the blooms still left. They're the lightest of pink, little tiny dainty things, but that's not even what's awesome about this shrub. What's awesome about it is that all of those flowers then turn into beautiful pink berries. We've got several of these around the garden, and I think it would be gorgeous to do a hedge of these somewhere. There's surely an area we could dedicate to a coralberry hedge. I think that would be so pretty. These are just an amazingly tough shrub. And the thing I love about these, not only the berries, which do hold for a good part of like into the winter, eventually they do kind of brown and fall off, but you don't really notice it. It's in the middle of winter when you're not walking by your flower beds all the time. But I love the maintenance on these. So they're a woody shrub, but you go in the spring and you cut the whole dang thing down to about 12 inches. It feels wrong when you're doing it. You feel like, oh my goodness, this is not how you're supposed to treat shrubs. But it's what they want. They need to have that hard prune back, and they flush back beautifully and get like 3 to 4 feet, I want to say, tall and wide every year. Yeah, 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and they are a zone 3 through 7. They handle our high pH soil really well thus far. I mean, I've been growing them for years now, but they're a fun one to work into flower arrangements and things like that. There's not a bad thing I can say about this plant at all. I have to take a break every time the tractor needs to go by. So as they're digging it out, and I think Paul's helping with that, as they dig it out, they put all the soil in the bucket of the tractor and then truck it over to the big hole that we have that was dug to create the berms over in that area. It's working out really nicely. But this is our next shrub right here. This is the double play Dolly Spirea, a brand new one for next year. The thing I like about this one is that it stays fairly small, like 1.5 to 2.5 feet tall and wide. It also provides that bright chartreuse pop in a flower bed, which honestly brings kind of a cooling note to it in the middle of summer. But when this one emerges, the new leaves, you can kind of see right here. But in the spring, they're like orange red. They have autumn colors in the spring. And then they mature to this brighter chartreuse color, and then they start to bloom about now. And it says they have purple blooms. That's pink to me. That's just a dark pink. Maybe on the purple side of pink. But these are tough, zone 3 through 8. They bloom on new wood. So they're just a really great one for reliable color. Gotta take another break quick. Here comes the tractor with an empty bucket. He always stops a little shy of where I'm at and waits for the thumbs up, like I'm not in the middle of talking. Now the last one, this is a Rugosa Rose, which you can tell by the way the leaves are structured and how the leaves look. The leaves are smaller than a traditional rose, but these stay small. Most rugosas that I'm familiar with get huge. Not that I'm a rose expert by any stretch of the imagination, but the rugosas that we used to sell down at the garden center, or probably still do sell, are on the larger side. The cool thing about this one is it stays 3 by 3. So an easy one to tuck into the landscape, and then you get that rugosa look, which I love. And these blooms are gorgeous. Just look at this super sweet, perfectly pink, full cupped dainty little rose. I mean, they do open a little bit wider and lighten up in color, and there is another variety. Same series, it's the Seaside Swirl. It's a rugosa, but it's a little bit of a deeper pink. We do have those. I haven't planted them yet. So we will find a spot for those as well. But I just think that this is such a sweet color, and I do have to say, we let these dry out once on accident. I mean, completely dry, 0 leaves. They all dried up and fell off. And I thought, oh, for crying out loud, no, I loved that rose. I hope they live. So we kept watering them, and they bounced back fast. So they are a tough one for sure. So this is our project for the day. Let's get out and get them in the ground. After I change my shoes, I'm still wearing sandals. I gotta go get some closed-toed shoes on. Oh, you guys, I just love where all of these plants are. All of them ended up out here in this part of the south garden, and every little thing that we add, it just feels like it's starting to come together. We'll start with the last ones I planted, which were the spirea right here, and because they're so small, I can just tuck them in almost like a perennial. I'm gonna do something just a little bit shorter right in front of them, but they'll be a nice bright pop, and you can kind of see how the layering is going. I usually, since this is a no plan sort of space, I usually start with some bigger stuff. Oh, the light's going away for just a second. Anyway, start with bigger stuff and then start working my way down typically. So these are just a really nice color right in here because we've got the cedar. This is the Korean cedar, and then there's a Serbian spruce, there's Russian sage, there's roses. There is a back and black sedum. So we've got a lot of green and red and blue, but we didn't have any chartreuse over here. And they just pop, don't they? And if I keep going backwards, you can see how much space we still have to fill. We do have this drift of roses, which are hanging in there. Not looking great, but I think next year they'll look amazing. One thing I wanted, well, actually two things I wanted to show you. First of all, double twilight super bells, amazing ground cover annual. Super bells usually aren't recommended for in-ground spaces because they need such good drainage to thrive, but these must like this spot because they look great. Second thing, fall in love sweetly anemones. Now, anemones traditionally, at least in our area where it's pretty harsh in the summertime, we don't get many days of cloud cover and can get pretty hot. We usually have to place anemones in a at least part shade location. These are on normal days in full sun all day long. Last year was when we planted them and they did struggle a bit to get established, but this year we have had a little bit of an atypical summer. Hasn't been quite as harsh, so maybe that's why they look so great. But they look great. I love them. Oh my gosh, they just started to bloom. I love it when you're experimenting with something and it just, you find the right spot from the gate. Sometimes it can be frustrating if you have to keep on trying. Right in here is where the coral berries ended up. I went ahead and grabbed the fourth one. I had 4 on hand. We wintered these over from last year and I was just gonna plant 3. And I thought, well, it's kind of perfect. This can be our little kind of lazy hedge. It's kind of like a little swoop thing. We've got a Miss Ruby Buddleia here, and these are echinacea we started from seed, which I don't know, a different variety of seed must have got tucked in with these, but they look beautiful. We've got a rose back in there. There's some phlox, one. I say some, I mean one. There's also some Stand By Me clematis, which needs help standing. I don't have anything around it supporting it. And honestly, I could come in and prune all of these flop down branches. Maybe I'll do that real quick. But either way, we still need to plant a few things around in here to make it nice and full. But having these shrubs tucked in back here will be beautiful. We've got are these Quickfire Tidbit? Is that the right name? They stay real small. I had 5 in here. Remember, I accidentally dug one up this spring and replanted it. I didn't accidentally dig it up. I dug it up on purpose because I thought it was dead. And when I got it up out of the ground, there was actually some little buds down low. But you can see it never did much after that. So once I can get a 5th one, I'll probably finish this drift right here. I think that will look nice. But we've got some Cheyenne Sky Panicum. There's a pine right here. Is that a Fukuzumi? Maybe. Let's cut these back quick before we go take a look at the roses. I kind of got into it and thought there's no looking back at this point. You know, if I would have looked at them a little harder, I would have realized that there wasn't fresh growth, like upright growth like this on all of them. And I probably would have just left them for the rest of the season just to enjoy the spent seed heads because they are pretty as well. But we do have a couple of months left. So they'll probably flush back a nice leaf canopy and they'll look a little bit more fresh. I almost forgot to show you when I was over here. This is a coral berry that's been here for a few years, probably 2 or 3 years. And this one gets cut back to 12 inches every single year. And it just, you can see one berry's popped out, one little pink berry. But you can see just how many this shrub is gonna have. It's gonna be another glorious show. They never disappoint. Okay, roses are on the other side. Okay, so in this space right here, the 3 roses. And I love it especially on this approach right here, just seeing the layering start to form up. When we first start to plant perennials, they always look like little, you know, boop, 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 boop all over the place. But eventually these will just be a nice big thick drift where you won't really be able to distinguish one plant from the next unless it's, you know, like a grass like this. We do have a Centaura double blue lilac right here and these just tucked in beautifully. I'm actually thinking some sort of a pathway, maybe somewhere around in here coming in through this area, but we haven't quite decided that yet. But it's kind of nice to leave that open for now while we're thinking about it. Boy, the asters are looking pretty. And the reminiscent coral. Look at those. Beautiful. That coral with the aster behind it. Oh, so pretty. Love seeing that color. And this color. My word. Oh. Well, that's pretty much it for my planting. Let's go see how the guys have done today. goodness, you guys, look at the stones. They are so pretty and they're big. Look at how big these pieces are. Wow. And the walkway, the beginning of the walkway, I can see some distinction now. That's so nice. It looks like they got this side dug out and the gravel layer put in and tamped down. Looks like the patio area, oh, we're gonna get some sun again. Patio area dug out, the gravel layer put in. Looks like they were kind of testing out some stones because I don't want the edge to look cut. I want it to be fairly smooth, but not cut smooth, if that makes sense, because there's so much natural stuff going on around here. I want this to just still be sort of a natural looking edge. And Pedro said they were gonna start laying stone in this area tomorrow. So I'm thinking they're gonna get this walkway done and then into the patio area, and then they'll start digging out the next pathway. So right in here is where the stairs are gonna go, which the slabs are sitting over there. We'll walk over there in a second. But Aaron asked if they could put some conduit in. You know, he's the king of planning ahead. We have no plans right at this moment to use that, but should we want to put, there's some fire bowls out there that you can use gas for, and there's also, you know, if we need electrical for something, at least it'll be there so we don't have to tear up the whole patio, and then we won't have to run a cord or pipes or anything anywhere. So above the surface. I can't tell you how many times I've been thankful for his forethought in that area. On this side, I don't know, like right now it's looking like 3 stairs, but I was thinking initially 2, but we'll see how it goes once they get this whole heap, you know, put back over into the trench. But the pathway, they kind of had it marked out. It came right about where this pile is and just hugs around the bottom of this berm. Kind of see all the mulch scooted out of the way. And then you can see these stairs that match the flagstone we're using. Aren't those awesome? So they're 3 feet wide and I think 6 inches, 6 or 7 roughly inches high. I wonder how much each one of these weighs. But the stone we're using is a little bit different than all of our other flagstone walkways. We've been trying to use the same thing all over the property, but this one's incredibly similar. So the one we've been using, it's called Oklahoma Blue, and it does have quite a bit of orange in it, which you guys know I don't really care for the orange color in the stone quite as much, mostly on the edges. Like you would see a bright orange edge on the Oklahoma Blue. This type of stone is called Tamaha, which is from a quarry that's really close to the other stone, but it has far less orange, just more grays, which I really like. I did see one stone that had some orange in it. Yeah, see like this right here, the Oklahoma Blue had a ton of that in it, which in walkway situations I don't mind because you're not really seeing the sides of the stone. But when you're using for any kind of walls, or if you're seeing the edges and I can see that orange, I just don't personally care for that quite as much. I like cooler tones so that it kind of visually cools down the area. So I'm really happy with this stone. It's so pretty. Oh, I just love it. I love seeing it like this. And that's just day 1. They got a tremendous amount done. That was a ton of soil they had to move out. Wow. So that is day 1 for the flagstones out here, and we will bring you along for the rest of the project so you can kind of see it happen as we see it happen. And once that's done, I think I'll really get a new, not a new feel for this area, but kind of, you know, when you have hardscape stuff like that done, it just kind of, it lets you see what it's going to look like from here on out, and you can start really envisioning. It helps me envision where plants are going to go, and I'm going to really want to go to town. I just know it. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.